Yo, what's going on, everybody? What is happening? Hey, do me a big favor here right now. Let me know if my audio is good. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if everything sounds right. Do me a huge favor. I'm popping in. It's a Sunday. Just wanted to say what's up. I'll let you guys know the details and kind of why I'm just randomly popping in on a Sunday. But do me a big favor. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. I would definitely appreciate it. I see a couple people already popping in. Jack, where's the flag? Emmanuel, what's going on? Yeah, let me know if y'all can hear me. What's happening? Let me know if my audio's good, man. Chill Ray, what's going on? Let me know. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know. Okay, you say it's a little broken. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too close to the mic. You never know. These mics sometimes can be a little sensitive. I talk a little loud. It is what it is. But everybody, appreciate everybody popping up in here. Look, again, typically don't go on live on a Sunday or just kind of solo, but when I can, I will. Actually, one of my kids wanted to take their friend to the movies, and so I was like, you know what, hey, I'm gonna drop you off at the movies. My wife is one at the house, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna drop you off. You know what, let me go post up, and while you guys are at the movies, I'm gonna jump on and chop it up with the nation. So let me know if for any reason the audio kind of gets a little rough. I only want to do this if the audio is right, if the visual is right. So if it gets a little choppy, if it's a little rough, man, let me know. But I'm going to keep trying to rock out. And just, again, this is for you guys. This is just to go one-on-one, all the moves that we've made. If you guys have any questions, if you guys have anything of my thoughts, you know, obviously you guys know I break down game film as much as I possibly can. I got a pretty good feel for what I want to go down in the draft. But now that the first wave of free agency has taken off, man, it definitely gives us a good idea as to who we're going to go after, or at least when it comes to the position groups, what we're going to prioritize, you know, forward. So again, let me know if the audio kind of trips out a little bit. Again, I only want to do this if the audio is right and everything sounds good on your guys' end. I'm doing this off of my phone, so just know that I may not be able to pull up comments and stuff the way that it works. So I might not be able to pull up the comments, but I'll definitely see them. So definitely hit that hashtag Raiders if you guys got a comment. But shout out to you guys, man. Happy Sunday. I will be live at 6:30 Pacific time with Severe Chris. We're gonna do a big deep dive on just all the moves, and I got a new game we're gonna play today at 6:30 again Pacific time. Got a new game I'm gonna play when it comes to just breaking things up, have a little bit of fun with you guys. We do a start and bench and cut them, as you all know, but we're doing something a little bit different. But shout out to everybody so far. I got GeoMex in here. What up, Raider Ryan? What's going on? Moon over Miami. Appreciate you rocking with me. Anthony Zerk, that is. What's going on? Appreciate you. What up, Jack? Oh, where's the flag? And I see you. Chill Ray. What's going on? Tony Chef. What's going on? But man, as long as y'all can understand me and hear me, keep rocking. But again, one of my kids and their friends, I took them to the movies, let them watch whatever movie they wanted, and I stepped next door. And I was like, you know what? Let's chop it up with the nation. I'm just chilling out, having a drink with y'all and rocking. Salute y'all. But we're gonna chop it up. Let me know if you guys want to talk about anything, any topics that you guys got in mind, any questions. One thing I will start off with. Let's talk a little bit about Maxx Crosby. I know this has kind of been pushed in the ground a little bit. Maxx Crosby was traded to the Baltimore Ravens, and then the Baltimore Ravens did a shady-ass move and decided to back out. And I actually have a take on that in a sense that not about whether or not that trade worked out or did we win that. Did we win now that Maxx Crosby is back with us? Tony Chef, I got you. I'm gonna answer that question, man. I see you again. I'm off of my phone, so I may not be able to pull up the questions up on screen, but there's something in my Raiders the NFL has to do to kind of correct this situation. If you're going to do a legal tampering period and you run the risk of teams like the Baltimore Ravens pulling out of a trade like that. I mean, that has an effect across, that could ripple across the league. You know, for example, right, Maxx Crosby, they come out saying that they pulled out of the trade. The moment the Ravens pull away from that trade, it automatically lowers his value instantly, because you had a team that was willing to give 2 first-round draft picks, and then you pull out of that trade for some reason. It instantly lowers the value. In addition to that, you now potentially ruin the locker room, the front office. You know what I'm saying? You have a front office with Spytek, Brady, markdavis, everybody else kind of involved in that situation, that decision. You have a front office that was willing to move on from you, right? You also have a player that went publicly and said, hey, I'm ready. Let's go. I'm going to the Ravens. Let's rock. He was in the building when they kind of pulled out of that. And because that happened on a Friday, now you have the Raiders basically making all these moves over the weekend. And so, it can have a ripple effect. And now it puts us in a situation where we don't have 30 million. Is it lagging? My bad. Okay, guys. Again, Moon over Miami, I appreciate it. Let me know. I'm only going off of as strong as the signal is in here. And so I am hooked up to a hotspot. So hopefully everything's good. But guys, again, let me know if the audio and the visuals bad. Let me know, and we'll definitely cut out. I only want to do this if it's right with you guys. But at the end of the day, I think what makes it really difficult is now we have 30 less million in cap space. Having Maxx Crosby with all the additions, it's great. But Spytek and Tom Brady, they were making moves with the intention of having 30 plus million in cap space. And the best part about having that cap space is you could basically roll all of that over to next year and have even more cap space, which would put us in a great situation to bring on more free agents. And so at the end of the day, I think the NFL has to do something. And here's my suggestion, guys. Let me know in the comments if you think this would be a right move, because I don't think the NFL is going to do anything. It's a legal tampering period. Everybody has to kind of be grown-ups in the room and handle it on their own. But I think if any team is going to make a move, for example, right? Let's put our situation, prime example. If the Ravens agree to give up 2 first-round draft picks and we agree to give up Maxx Crosby, there has to be some sort of non-refundable capital or draft picks that the team that backs out is still held responsible for. So, for example, if the Ravens back out, which they did, and they're willing to give up 2 first-rounders, I think if they were to back out of the deal, I think there has to be something in place that basically states that Ravens, you back out, you still owe the Raiders minimal draft capital. Let's say you still owe them 2 second-rounders if you back out. So you can back out all you want, but at the end of the day, you still are accountable for a certain amount of draft capital. Or let's say if the Raiders back out, if the Raiders all of a sudden say, no, we want to keep Maxx Crosby, well, then the Raiders need to give up some salary cap or something like that. The NFL has to figure out a structure as to what teams are still responsible for if you back out of a trade like that, because that holds them around. And then I'm going to go back. Hold up. Okay, hold on. Are we back? Let me know if y'all. Let me know if we're back. We might be. Okay. So if we are back, appreciate it. Sorry for the. Sometimes I'm hooked up to a hotspot. Sometimes it's a little rough out here. But as long as you can hear me, I think we're good. What up, y'all? What's going on, Leo? What's going on, brother? So, look, if the NFL is going to keep the legal tampering period, I do think that there needs to be basically some sort of consequence if you pull out. Again, it's like if you're going to rent an apartment, you know what I'm saying, or if you're going to go get a car or whatever it may be, you have to put a security deposit down. And a lot of times those security deposits are non-refundable. If you're going to keep the legal tampering period around, I'm going to tell you right now, I think the NFL has to, with any contract that's verbally agreed upon, there's got to be some sort of consequence for any team that pulls out. I think that's the only way they can keep it open. Now, granted, this happened to the Raiders. And so will the NFL do anything because it happened to the Raiders? Now, if this was like the Patriots or if this was the Rams or if this was, some other organization, maybe something would have happened, but it was us. And so to me, I feel like that's the only solution that would prevent anything like this happening again, because I'm not sure if anything like this has happened to a caliber of player like Maxx Crosby that was, the swap was going to be that much compensation. And so, at the end of the day, the Ravens' shady-ass move screwed us over. We all know. They basically backed out because they knew they could get Trey Hendrickson for a cheaper deal. That's the only reason why they did it. And they could retain their 2 first-round draft picks. So at the end of the day, man, the Ravens should have been able – the NFL could have I take it back. Sorry. I'm not saying they could have. I think the NFL moving forward has to have some sort of contingency plan where teams are going to be held accountable. And there's some sort of consequence if they try to make a shady-ass move like that moving forward. So, Leo, I saw you basically said just end the legal tampering period. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Anthony, you're saying compensatory picks to the team that got screwed over. I'm with you. There's got to be some consequences. You know what I'm saying? Truth Finest, what's going on, man? What's happening? Appreciate you rocking up in here. Let's see. Raiders should have signed Hendrickson first to prevent Ravens from doing that crap. I know. Which, look, I don't even want Trey Hendrickson, given the fact that we're in a complete rebuild. You don't let go of a guy like Maxx Crosby to go grab, a Trey Hendrickson. I'm not saying you want to do that. I'm just saying it's like, God, that could have set us up for the future. Now, it could still work out. Everything could still rock. We have 10. I believe we have 10 draft picks. And so, look, we can still make this thing work. That's not the problem. It's just those 2 first-rounders. One this year, one next year could have been that could have been nasty to have. And the work we could have done with that could have set us up not just for next year's draft or this draft and next year's draft. It could have set us up for the next 3 drafts. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I just think, man, it's just a shady-ass move. And especially given the fact that Spytek made some moves to kind of prepare for having that draft pick and that salary cap moving forward. So we'll see. All right, so let me get back to that question. I know, Tony, you had a question. And again, guys, I'm just popping up here on Sunday. I will be live 6:30 Pacific time in the War Room with Severe and Chris. I'm just popping up in here. I dropped off my kid and her friend at the movies. They're doing that. I was like, you know what? Let me jump over, do it live, kill some time with y'all, and chop it up. But Tony, you got a question, and I might pull this up on the screen if I can. Cool. You're saying what position you go second round? Trenches, maybe. Guys, let me know in the chat. Where do you guys want to go second round? Obviously, we have the first round, right? And everybody talks about the second round because I think everybody's assuming that they want, Fernando Mendoza is going to be the first pick. Granted, if I'm a betting man, I'm putting my money that, yes, we're going to pick Fernando Mendoza. I want us to trade back. I want us to build up on some draft capital, not just this year, but an additional first round next year. Go with 2 first rounders next year, because I think next year's draft class is going to be absolutely nasty. And I've heard a lot of people say, look, Like, we need a quarterback, and yes, we do. Don't get me wrong. But it's been about 3 years, maybe 4, since Derek Carr. So it hasn't been like it's not like the Jets. Like, the Jets haven't had a quarterback in the longest time. It's only been about 3, maybe 4 years that we haven't had a quarterback and not a plan. And I get that, right? I want a quarterback just as much as anybody else. But just because we need a quarterback doesn't mean we have to get emotional about it and just instantly go after Fernando Mendoza. It's about getting the right quarterback. It's making sure that the quarterback that you invest the number 1 overall draft pick in, that you would think is going to be a surefire Hall of Famer, because that's what you pick at that number 1 overall pick. You want to make sure it's the right guy. It's not about just getting the best guy in this class. It's about getting the right guy. And in my opinion, I just don't think Fernando Mendoza is the right guy at number 1 overall. Again, I'd trade back. I'd stock up the draft capital and really build this thing, not just for next year, but for 2028, even 2029 draft. So, but that's neither here nor there. If I'm a betting man, yes, most likely we're going after Fernando Mendoza. But if Fernando Mendoza is the pick, depending on how the offensive line fall, if there are some really good right tackles that fall into the second round, I'm probably going to go that route. I definitely think that we need competition for DJ Glaze. I think DJ Glaze, as much as he showed promise in the 2024 season, it's really hard to determine how well he's going to play this year, because he did fall off. I mean, it was a really bad season for DJ Glaze. And the question is, was it truly just a sophomore slump, or was it Brendan Carroll? I think 60% we can put on Brendan Carroll, because he was an absolutely horrible offensive line coach, and it was something that was my biggest concern going to last year, was Brendan Carroll, and that showed to be true. Brendan Carroll was an absolute disaster. So can DJ Glaze continue to grow off of what we saw at the end of the 2024 season? The last, I want to say, about 4 or 5 games of the 2024 season, or is he what he was last year? We just don't know. So that remains the biggest question. Now, I don't think he's going to fall, but if a Monroe Freeling falls to the second round, just depending on how the draft plays out, because we are the biggest example of of a team just drafting strange in the first round, whether it be an Alex Leatherwood, a Damon Arnett, those type of guys. Like, we are the epitome of strange draft picks. And so guys can fall. You know what I'm saying? The question is, does a Monroe Freeling fall to the second round? Does that Max, I'm going to call him Max Anchor, I don't know if that, I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name, from Arizona State, does he fall to the second round? I want to build the trenches. I want to build this offensive line as much as we possibly can. I think that's probably the biggest question mark right now. You look at the guards. I think Jordan Meredith can be a very serviceable guard this year. I don't think we have to waste a first, second, even a third round on a guard this year. I think we can rock with him and let him and Caleb Rogers just compete for the guard position. Compete for the guard position. Let the best man win. We got JPJ at the other guard. We got Tyler Lindenbaum at the center position. I think we need to just prioritize a lot in the trenches. Go ahead, get that Max kid out of Arizona State if we want some competition at that right tackle spot. And so shout out to everybody in here. Again, I'll be live tonight, 6:30 Pacific time, with my guys in the war room. But again, dropped off my kid and a friend at the movies and decided to jump on here and just do a Q&A with y'all, man. I can't do it often, but when I can, I try to show what's up to everybody. Rundown, what's going on, brother? I see you up in here. Let's see. Truth Finds, you got a question? Okay, I'm going to kind of wrap this question up, but I want to make sure that I see if anybody's got some feedback, comment to it. John found people need to remember karma's a bitch, and Baltimore will get theirs. I just on my live when I went live with Severe and Chris, and I said, yes, karma is a bitch. Karma's a bitch. I hope it smacks them score in the face. So we'll see how it plays out. Rundown, you're saying wide receiver and D tackle. Bro, we can definitely do D tackle. Right. You're saying safety. Now, Rundown, man, that I think the one guy that might fall to second that we could definitely take a look at, which I would take a swing for. But there's another guy. Shout out to Chris, rocked out with his guy, our former coach Hugh Jackson, when his guys at Georgia State. Man, I started doing some homework on one of his receivers over there. I'll get his name. I got it written down. But that kid, man, if he's available in the third, that kid could be nasty. Chris, I think I saw you up in here. Yeah, what up, Chris? Hey, Chris, remind me of I think it's Ted Height, or Ted Height, which is a receiver from Georgia State. Do me a favor, confirm if that name's right. But that kid, bro, go take a look at that kid's tape. I just came across it, one of his highlight reels I was just scrolling through YouTube. I watched him, and I was like, Jesus, if we can get that kid in the third, that kid has potential to be a number one receiver. But what up, Jerry? You're saying safety? I don't know if I'd go safety in the second round, man. I definitely want to go D tackle, right tackle, depending on how players fall. I think there's a couple safeties. There's a safety that I like. I got to pick up my list. I got a list of all the draft prospects. The safety out of Ole Miss, I think, is a late rounder that I'd love to possibly take a swing on. You got Bud Clark, I think he is, from TCU. That kid looks pretty solid. Hold on. Okay, Bud Clark. Keontae Scott is another guy. I think he might be a third rounder. But Wydett Williams. Wydett Williams is a guy I think we could possibly take a fifth round that could come in and play solid ball. I believe he's like 6'2", 205. He looks like a ball hawk. He's a guy. He's a long safety that I think can work sideline to sideline. He's definitely a guy that I'm going to be looking at kind of on a day 3 pick. Let's see. I called him the JT Brick Show on Friday, and as much as I want picks, I think having Max back will galvanize and motivate the team. Look, I think having Max back, you have the leader in the locker room again, right? So, Fernando Mendoza, I struggle to know whether how effective Fernando Mendoza can be a leader in the locker room just because of his personality. Trust me, I played ball for 15 years. I coached him for a really long time, 23 years. And you're talking about grown-ass men, and Fernando Mendoza is just personality, the way that he presents himself. I just don't know how much vocal leader he could be. He could be a leader as it relates to his gameplay. That's one thing. But I question who's going to be that leader in the locker room. With Max back, he's the true leader. He's going to be the guy. He is going to lead every single time he go out and take the field. He's going to be the leader. So, without question, we have that back. We'll just see how Spytek navigates the salary cap. If he plans to actually push some of that salary cap to next year, we'll see how he navigates it. Let's see. What up, Chris? Yeah, I see you in here. What's happening, man? Chris, don't do it as long as it isn't Charles Brandon Parker Grant. Brandon Parker Grant, man. I'm really curious to see how Brandon Parker just evolves. Brandon Parker, Charles Grant. Just remember this. What's really difficult is Charles Grant showed some promise. A lot of it was against teams that were playing backups, right? And so he looked good. Don't get me wrong. He's extremely athletic. Is he going to need maybe another season to kind of just sharpen up the skills and be ready to start and take over? Probably. But the promise that he showed was, again, against Kansas City, right? Kansas City was playing a lot of backups. So I think he showed promise, but I'd also think that I'm not going into this season thinking he's going to take over and be that starter, and all of a sudden we got everything locked down. Because not only if we do go ahead and we draft Fernando Mendoza, you got to protect him, but you also got to make sure you put all the resources in the proper place to allow Ashton Jeanty to get the best production and have everything around him to find the most success for him. And so I would be more than willing in the second round, going back to the question, go in the second round. If a guy like the Arizona State tackle drops, Monroe Freeling drops, I'd be cool to invest some second round draft capital to go get him. If it's not that, then run down like a Denzel Boston. I do like him. I know you've mentioned him a couple times. I think my pro comp to him is Nico Collins. I think he can come in and be a number one, sure-handed guy, big body guy, 50-50 ball guy. He can run any route that you need. And so, but that kid from Georgia State, man, if you want to go right tackle, maybe defensive tackle. So if that Lee Hunter drops to the second round, let's go get Lee Hunter. If we want to build the trenches, put him next to an Adam Butler, that can interior defensive line. I know we're running that course, so it'd be good to have a true nose tackle. Lee Hunter could be that guy. Just keep in mind, Adam Butler was a nose tackle when he was with the Patriots, one of his best years. When it comes to production with the Patriots in that 3-4 scheme. So Adam Butler can play. Is it ideal? Maybe not. But you can go D-tackle. And if a right tackle drops, would not mind pulling the trigger. But yeah, Denzel Boston could be out there. But goddamn it, we need to trade back. I'm gonna still throw that out there. Choose fine. I really wanted Leone, the guard, or Lemieux, the tackle from Utah. Man, I like the kid, the Lemieux kid from Utah. I do like him. My favorite tackle is the kid from Miami, Malgoa. That's probably my favorite tackle in this draft. And if we were to trade back, I would get Malgoa in a heartbeat. If we trade back, acquire some draft capital, I'll do another one. Yeah, thank you. Acquire some draft capital. I would bolster this offensive line like you wouldn't believe. I want to create the best offensive line in the National Football League. I trade back. It doesn't look like the Jets want to trade with us. There's a really good chance that they're just stockpiling draft picks for next year. And at the end of the day, they went and got Geno Smith. Could they ride Geno Smith? Maybe. It really depends on what that fan base really feels like and what that front office is. Geno Smith just a Band-Aid, given the fact that we acquired a lot of that cap space. We took on a lot of that salary, right? So, the Jets got Geno for a very cheap contract. So the question is are they willing to ride with him and maybe get a quarterback next year, or do they want him to be the bridge? Aaron Gled, the head coach over there, he's already wasted 1 year. It was a horrible year for them. Is he willing to waste one more year without getting that quarterback? Remains to be seen. So do they trade up or at least give us an offer? If they do, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Get their second pick, get their 16th pick, get a first rounder next year. And with that second pick, I'm getting Malgoa. I think he's the only guy that's probably worth the second pick. And it would be, without question, an anchor opposite of Colt Miller on this offensive line. And we would have one of the biggest and baddest offensive lines in the National Football League, I think, right out the box. So that's probably what I do with that pick. But going back to Lemieux, I do like him as well, but I think he'd be more of if we ended up trading with the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have 2 first-rounders as well. You give me your 6th pick and your 24th pick and a first-rounder next year, then Malgoa might still be at the 6th pick. If he's not, then you get Lemieux with the 6th pick. You just build this thing. Because, again, that's just, for me, I just don't think Fernando Mendoza, is worth the number 1 overall draft pick, and I just don't think he is going to be the guy that's going to take us to the promised land. That's just my opinion. So let's trade back. Shout out to everybody. Hey, if you're going to be at the 2 events, before I get to a couple other questions, 2 events, we'll be out. Shout out to my guy, Chris. Chris, we'll be at the draft with Severe. So let us know if you're going to be at the draft. Hit me up on social media. Hit me up, _805 Raider. Let me know if you're going to be at the draft. We're going to have a little bit of fun. We might go live. We might do a members-only live. So definitely tap in with myself. We got memberships, Chris, as well as Severe. All memberships are open. If y'all want to join us at the draft, we're going to have a little bit of fun. But also, I'll be at Bakersfield May 16th, I believe it is. Bakersfield, California. Raider Nation Summer Kickoff. I'll be there. Shout out to everybody that's going. We're going to have a good time. Shout out to Cheeto Linus. Going to be there. All right, Pete Kobe, I see you, man. You're saying don't we get $52 million coming off the Bucks, man. Hopefully, I just don't see a world where we win that, to be honest. Because Christian Wilkins is going to battle that, obviously, and it's a lot of hearsay. It's a lot of speculation. So, do we win it? Maybe. I don't know, man. Chat, let me know in the comment section if you think we're gonna win that Christian Wilkins shit. Because if we can get that salary cap, that salary money, that'd be amazing. I just don't know if we do. Just don't know. But we'll see. And also remember, we're the Raiders, so they'll find a way to screw us some way somehow. Sorry, y'all. I'm eating, having a drink with y'all at the same time. Shout out. Do me a huge favor, guys. Hit that hashtag Raiders if y'all got a question, stuff like that. I thought there was a question. Yeah, Chris, Tim Hurst. Hurst, my bad. Don't put it up yet. Tim Hurst, man. Not gonna lie. We can get someone like that. Third round. Because again, Brock Bowers is obviously going to be our #1 target, but you can have someone that's restricted on the outside. Full route tree guy. Gets off the line of scrimmage extremely well. He's a 4-2 guy. He's a 4-4 guy. I think he ran a 4.42, I believe. Enough speed to take the top off. Enough speed to get some respect. I think at the end of the day, if you manage and navigate the draft well, he's definitely a guy. You can look in the third. You go maybe, again, Brandon Mendoza. In the first, you bolster the trenches, whether it be O-line, D-line in the second, and then you get a #1 receiver in the third. Wouldn't be mad at it, man. That's how you navigate the draft. You navigate the draft really well by trading back as well. In here or there. Yes, sir, Tony Chef. You know it. I'm putting that up on the screen, making sure my kids, they're on spring break this week. They're on spring break, and so I'm making sure their thing, they have fun on spring break, but at the same time, I'm going to come on over and chop it up with y'all, man. So the wife is handling my youngest one. They're at the house. I think she's making slime or something. That's the thing for kids nowadays, is they're doing some slime stuff. And FaceTiming with their friends, all that cool shit. Let's see. Again, guys, hit that hashtag Raiders if you got a question. I'm trying to navigate this. I can only see like 3 comments on the screen at one time because I'm doing this on my phone. Truth Fine said, last question, do you think any chance you'll trade out of the first pick? Man, oh man. I might have to get down at the bottom of the chat. Look, I think there's a chance. I think that there's a good chance that we trade out. Well, if I can put like a percentage on it, I'm going to go ahead and say maybe it's like 80-20. Because the thing is, we did address a lot of needs in free agency. That first round of free agency, we addressed a lot of needs. But, you know what? Let's do this. I'm gonna pull this up on the screen just so you guys know what I'm talking about. Guys, let me know. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people, they want Fernando Mendoza. And I get it, right? He's got his highlights on there. But we have a lot of needs, and you can't address every need in 1 year. And you take into consideration that next year's quarterback draft class is going to be absolutely nasty. It really is. Clint Kubiak is on a 5-year deal, which means he's on a 5-year deal. That doesn't mean you have to go get your guy right now. That's the thing. If he was on like a 3-year deal and a 4-year deal, then maybe you want to jump ahead the process and go get your guy, because you got to prove pretty quickly that you need to turn this thing around. But you're on a 5-year deal. If this organization is giving you 5 years, that doesn't mean you need to go get your quarterback this year. And so if a team is willing to come up and give you swap first rounds and give you 2 additional first rounds, an extra one this year, 1 more next year, that can really change the trajectory of your future. By having 3 first rounders going into this upcoming draft, and 2 this year and 1 next year, which gives you 2 first rounders next year. You can take one of those first rounders next year, move around, given the fact that if you end up winning, 4 games next year, you're going to most likely have a top 5 pick. You might have a top 3 pick. And if that's the case, that quarterback draft class is so deep. There's going to be a lot of weapons, receiver weapons. I think the edge class is pretty deep next year as well. You're going to have teams going to come up. And if you want to trade back with one of those first rounders next year and then get more draft capital for the 2028 season, this is just how you build. This is just how you not only set us off for the next couple years, but set us off for the next 5-6 years, because look at the free agent contracts that we put out there. They're all 3-year contracts, which means what you're doing is you're preparing to pay some of our younger guys in the next 3 years. Again, Genty, you got Brock Bowers coming up the next 2 years. Like, you have to clear some some salary cap to prioritize some guys. Now, mind you, you could be preparing to sign like a Fernando Mendoza, right? You take on Fernando Mendoza, you got to prep for the next 4 years. You got to be ready to kind of sign him to a massive contract, probably a record-breaking contract. So, I'm looking at 80-20. 80-20. There's no way you can pass up, or at least not phone call and consider someone wanting to give you 3 first-rounders for that number 1 overall pick. Even the fact that Kubiak has a 5-year deal, he's got time. He's got time. And if you don't think Fernando Mendoza is that Hall of Fame quarterback that's going to absolutely change the trajectory of your franchise, then you don't do it. You just don't do it. So, I'm thinking 80-20. That's what I'm thinking, to be honest with you. Tony Chef, I'm with you. I think Lee Hunter could be a good interior guy. I'm with you. Choose Finance, I see you. Margot is a stud. He may drop a bit because of the short arms. He does, but you know what though? I think some of the offensive linemen over the last few years on that, like, short arms. Yeah, you want to take that into consideration, but it's not like shutting it down. You look at Margot, right? He's a 3-year starter. I think he's 3 years. 3-year starter. He shut everything down in the playoffs. There was not even a question who the best right tackle was, even going into the season as well as the playoffs. And so, but at the end of the day, you got guys like Talisi Fuaga. Talisi Fuaga was my favorite right tackle coming out of the draft 2 years ago. That was the guy that I wanted. Kelvin Banks, he wasn't an arm issue, but Kelvin Banks was my favorite right tackle coming out of this year's draft. And he was an all-pro rookie last year. Talisi Fuaga, he was my favorite right tackle coming out of the draft 2 years ago. That was the guy I wanted. He ended up being the best right tackle out of that rookie class. And he was so good at right tackle, they moved him to left last year, and they picked up Kelvin Banks. Now they have literally my two tackles that I wanted the last 2 drafts. And they're some of the best tackles in the National Football League. And so, Talisi Fuaga, they kind of had an arm issue with him as well, and he proved that wasn't a problem. So even though, yes, you have Will Campbell. Will Campbell was an arm issue. He struggled a little bit in the playoffs, but he's a rookie, all right? Again, it's about the body of work. The body of work showed Will Campbell could still be a good right tackle in the National Football League. But will they bump him down? Maybe. You never know. But he played 90% of the season at a high pace at a right tackle position. So if he can improve off of what he showed in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, then I think he'll be very good at the National Football League, in the National Football League. So we'll see how that plays out. But are the short arms a concern? Yeah, maybe. But again, I'd trade back, get the number 6 with the Cleveland Browns, and they're 24, and I'd get Margot at the 6th spot. And have one of the meanest, baddest offensive line in the National Football League. Let's see. Again, guys, do me a big favor. Hashtag raises the question. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all. Again, I'll be live tonight, 6:30 Pacific time. Just rocking it out. Killing some time. While my kids enjoying the movie. Let's see. John, I see you up. I can't have on the screen, but saying, hey, how much I appreciate your knowledge. I disagree about Mendoza. I disagree with you about Mendoza. With Kubiak, he'd be a stud. And I'm with you. Just know what Clint Kubiak likes to do, what Mendoza did in college. If you want a quarterback that's going to fit what Clint Kubiak likes to do, and versus what a quarterback did in college, Ty Simpson's a perfect fit. He's a perfect fit. Ty Simpson worked under center. He rocked play action under center at a very, very, very not volume, but at the same time at a very efficient rate. He was extremely good under center. Again, executed play action extremely well. Worked the middle of the field extremely well, and if you take Ty Simpson away from Alabama, they're absolute shit. If you take Mendoza away from Indiana, then you got Curtis Rourke. I mean, they were a very efficient team where Alabama relied on Ty Simpson to thrive. And Ty Simpson, through the first 8-9 games of the National Football, they said that he was basically a Heisman Trophy candidate. And so Mendoza never played under center. Ty Simpson took more snaps under center and executed Fernando Mendoza did all season last year. And so the question is, can Fernando Mendoza work under center through play action? Go look at what he did with Sam Darnold at Seattle. They executed the offense under center more than any team in the National Football League. And the transition and the learning curve that any quarterback has to go from going out of shotgun, going out of the gun, to have to now work under center. You've never done it before, or at least have very little experience doing it. The learning curve is massive. I want to say someone said when Shanahan took over as offensive coordinator for the Falcons with Matt Ryan was purely a shotgun quarterback. It took him damn near 2 seasons to get Matt Ryan to understand how to work under center. Now, again, I'm not saying Fernando Mendoza can't do it. I'm not saying that, he doesn't have the work ethic, the drive to do it. I'm not saying that. But why why draft somebody number 1 overall with a guy that you have to work at to figure out, can he do it, when you got someone like Ty Simpson that showed on tape all season long, multiple times a game, that he can do it. The learning curve is much shorter, and you can get 2 first-round draft picks out of it. I'm just saying, that's what I'm comparing right now, is I don't want so many question marks with Fernando Mendoza at the number 1 overall. You know what I'm saying? And so, and what Fernando did, he was great at it, but about only 20% of what he showed at the college level translates to the NFL. Everything else, you're not going to do. RPOs, you're going to do it maybe 10% of the time, so that's 90% of that's 10% of what you're going to do, maybe. Back shoulder fades, you might do it 3 times a game at the best. Because the problem with the back shoulder fades, and shout out, I apologize if I'm getting to more questions. I see everybody in the chat. The problem with the back shoulder fade is go look at what Fernando Mendoza did at the college level. Hash marks are so much wider at the college level. The safeties can't get there in time. So when you see a true one-on-one, it makes the read so much easier. Because in the NFL, the hash marks that allows safety to be able to get leverage to the sideline much quicker. And so the back shoulder fades, not only are NFL corners much more versed at defending the back shoulder fades now, because Aaron Rodgers, Devon Adams, man, they mastered, what was that, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. They mastered that back shoulder fade. And so what corners had to do is figure out how to defend it. And they figured it out. There's still teams that do it. You can still execute it at a high clip. But the thing is that it has to be more methodical. It has to be more strategic as to when you actually throw it. And corners have now become very more well-versed at figuring out how to defend it. So you're not going to be able to run it as much as he ran it at Indiana. And at the same time, because of the hash marks, because safeties now can get to the sidelines much quicker in the NFL, you're going to have to understand when to throw it and when not to. Whereas in college, you could just structure a formation properly and understand the down and distance, knowing that. And also, Indiana was so damn good at the run game, it forced teams to have to play man-to-man a lot. And when you play the man-to-man, you're going to play a single high safety. That means that safety is going to be so far inside the hash marks, they can't get to that back shoulder fade. So you should know your one-on-one. In the NFL, it's not that simple. It's not that easy. So, again, what Fernando Mendoza was really good at, back shoulder fades, really good at the RPOs. Again, there's a lot to like about Mendoza. I'm not saying that he's a bad prospect. It's all about picking him at number 1. I just think about what he did extremely well at Indiana is about 10%, maybe 15% of what he's going to have to do in the NFL. Banking on that with a first round or number 1 overall pick. I'm just not. There's too many question marks that I got going into that. So, Anthony, I see you. Can we get Dante Corleone late? I don't know, man. Honestly, to be honest with you, I heard that name thrown out there. I'll be real, I don't even know who he is. Do me a favor, hit that hashtag Raiders. Let me know what school and position he plays. I have no clue who he is. It'd be wild if we had a Corleone in Las Vegas, though. Raidernation Jason, what's going on, brother? Hey, you gonna be in bed, man? I'll see you out there, man. Appreciate you. Let's see. What up, Cool Kev? What's going on, man? Hey, Cool Kev. Hey, you got your giveaway, man. Shout out to you. You're the winner of our giveaway last Wednesday, man. Shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you. I gotta eat a little bit, man, guys. Got some of this alcohol I'm drinking. Let's see. I just want to, if there's any questions, hit that hashtag Raiders, man. I can't see a lot of the chat. I'm trying to do it. Chill Raiders saying, no way we trade out of the first pick unless Mendoza's arrested or something. Maybe he'll get arrested. Who knows? Cool Cat. If Kubiak said he wants to evaluate Mendoza's tape, if Kubiak says he wants to evaluate Mendoza's tape, says a lot. I might be referencing the interview he had, I think during the draft, in the combine, maybe. He came out and said he has to. The one thing to keep in mind is, I said this in a live a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of these college scouts, or not scouts, sorry, a lot of these GMs, even head coaches, it takes them a long time, even these NFL analysts, it takes them a long time to evaluate some of this film, because they don't start evaluating film until really after the Super Bowl, after the college national championship. And you can't just sit there and watch 15 plays and know what a prospect is. It takes hours. It takes hours to evaluate somebody. And these NFL analysts and these head coaches and GMs, they have dozens, if not, over 100 prospects they want to look at. That's hours of one prospect. So it's going to take them weeks, if not a month and a half, maybe 2 months, to really understand who these guys are. I said this again a few weeks ago. It wasn't going to be until maybe about like beginning of February, maybe mid-February, until you really start to get what the true analysts are saying, like a true evaluation of these prospects. And you now start to see some of these guys start to come out and go, okay, there are question marks for Fernando Mendoza. Again, he's a good prospect. There's a lot to like, but it also comes with a lot of question marks. And so you start to hear that now over the last 3 weeks or so. And so Clint Kubiak, he just got done winning a Super Bowl, right? It's going to take him at least a month to really dive into the tape and understand who is Fernando Mendoza. And it's not just who he is on tape, it's also who he is off the field. So it's going to take him quite a while. He may not even have a full grasp even today as to what they want to do, because I guarantee you they're still watching game film. They're still doing player evaluations. And you got 30 days and 30 visits. You got your top 30 visits that you're still going to have to do one-on-ones with these guys. You got pro days that you're going to look at. So it's going to take a minute. Thank you. It's going to take a minute. So just saying, just because Kubiak said he still needs to look at his tape, yeah, he's got to look at everybody's tape. That doesn't mean he's not necessarily off of Mendoza or doesn't want to take him. It just takes a long time to evaluate film to understand what the player truly is. Choose finest, man. You're saying any chance we still trade Maxx Crosby despite the posturing? 100% there is a chance we can still trade Maxx Crosby. A good GM is always going to field phone calls. So I'll give you one. Back when Jacoby Myers had the rumors of, trading and he won an extension, and he came out and basically said that the Raiders weren't going to offer him an extension. That's when I first came and said, look, if you do not trade Jacoby Myers now, and that was about a week left. That was about a week left prior to the first game. And that was a horrible situation or a horrible timing of trading Jacoby Myers, because everybody has their 53-man rosters, free agency's done, the draft is done. Everybody's locked in to their roster, and they feel confident with it going into the first game. So the trade value for Jacoby, you're going to have to wait to the trade deadline when you have teams that are in playoff contention, or they still have a heartbeat to possibly make playoffs, but they're missing one piece. I'm going to tell you right now, after the draft, if somebody doesn't get their guy, if they miss in the draft, if a guy that they thought was going to drop to them and isn't there, and it's an edge rusher, this is a very deep edge rushing class, you might start hearing some phone calls. And maybe Spytek, a good GM, he's gonna pick up that phone and he's gonna listen. But reality is, wait for the trade deadline. Wait for an injury to happen. A top tier edge rusher goes down. You have a team that is knocking on the door, not just knocking on the door of playoffs. Maybe they're set to go to the playoffs, and they just need an edge rusher to get them there. Team's going to call, and a good GM is going to answer that phone call. And if they're willing to give up 2 first rounders, or in this case, they might give up a first rounder and a second. You might see Maxx Crosby get traded by the trade deadline. So that's what really pissed me off about the Ravens backing out was the trade talks of Maxx Crosby. It's not going to stop because it also might just be pure speculation. And the NFL analysts and everybody, all the pundits and all the reporters are going to say, oh, an edge rusher just got hurt and they're, knocking the door of playoffs. Maxx Crosby, he was supposed to be traded in the offseason. Maybe they go after Maxx Crosby. Like, it may not even be the Raiders front office that puts it out there. It's going to be all the reporters that go ahead and I think that there's a real chance. Without question, Maxx Crosby still could be on the trading block going in the deadline. What up, Jeff? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you popping up in here. Let's see. Joe Ray, you saying, I think if you're talking to me, you said the project is logic. These other teams in a rebuild are also thinking about drafting a quarterback next year. No way in hell the Jets Browns Cards are going to trade up for Mendoza, knowing that. So I'm 100% with you. I'm just wishful thinking. But you also have some coaches, like the Jet coach, he's on a 5-year contract. He's now in his 4th year. Maybe he goes in panic mode, given the fact that they had a bad season. Maybe he wants to pull the trigger and say, I'm going to go get him. Look, teams make bad decisions. I think that's the one thing we have to keep in mind. Teams make bad decisions. We drafted Damon Arnett. We drafted Tyree Wilson at number 7. We drafted Clayton. We drafted Alex Leatherwood, right? There's teams that make bad decisions, and the Jets just might do it. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm not saying because I'm with you. They might be building up draft capital. I have heard some reports that teams are building up draft capital for next year's draft class because I heard that next year's draft class is going to be absolutely nasty. And so, at the end of the day, they very well, we may have no trade partners, and you might be 100% right, and I won't disagree with you. But if they're willing to, and if they want to make, in my humble opinion, a bad decision, it might happen. Megalodon, you're saying Mendoza is the most accomplished of any first-round pick in history. Prove otherwise. I don't know what you mean by that. Statistically, no, he's not. Statistically, he's not the most accomplished. He had one of the worst stats of a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, and as far as I can remember, it was the most team accomplished, or I don't know how to put this. It was the most successful team, successful season I've seen in a long time. I guess I'd put it that way. Like, Mendoza wasn't even the reason why they won. He was a piece of the reason why they won. He wasn't the reason. So kind of putting that out there, to me, just doesn't make any sense. So you could just look at his stats. Just doesn't work that way. Let's see what's going on. Get me big fan, guys. Hashtag Raiders. Let me know. Helps me see it. You getting to the buy-in, bro. Still come to this alcohol. Let's see. Chill Ray, Ty Simpson is entering the draft because Alabama has a young freshman quarterback. that they'd rather start over Ty if Ty came back. Okay, I don't know who that is. I know a lot of people are saying that. Even people are saying that. And look, I'm not saying Ty Simpson is a perfect prospect. I'm just saying if we get a quarterback round one, that's what I want to get, because I get a quarterback, you satisfy that need, but you also possibly, again, get 2 additional first rounders. So that's the package that I'm willing to take on if we get a quarterback number one. So again, I'm not saying Ty Simpson is the perfect prospect or he is the guy. I'm saying if we go quarterback first round, that's what I would do. I'd get 2 additional first rounders and get Ty Simpson. That would be the package I would go with. Dre, you're saying Ty Fulmer under pressure. So it depends on what game you're looking at. Again, the report came out that he had like gastritis going into college playoffs, which affected him. A lot of people are saying gastritis. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good situation, so that could have affected him. But remember, he was that entire team. That offense was not good. I believe one of his top targets had the most drops in college football last year. They had no running game, and so it kind of Ty Simpson was the reason why that offense had any success whatsoever. And so, just remains to be seen. Just how they look at Ty Simpson. Derek, you're saying you're the only one with all these red flags. I'm not the only one. There's a lot of ex-NFL quarterbacks that have the same one. So just do a little bit more research and you'll find it. Tony Scott, gotta think Mendoza is practicing taking snaps from under. He is taking snaps. Tony, you're saying you gotta believe he's taking snaps? Absolutely. But taking snaps under center in an off season is 100%. There's no comparison to in-game. Simpson did it multiple times per game, in game, and did it extremely well. So he could be practicing. I guarantee you he is practicing, but that doesn't mean that he could do it at a high level. Let's see what's going on. Hey, Anthony, what's happening, man? Let's see. Joe Ray, who do you think is a better prospect, Cam Ward or Mendoza? I think Cam Ward's a better prospect, without question. Cam Ward was the reason why Miami came in and did extremely well with very little weapons. I mean, he had Rich Strepro, which was an undrafted free agent. Cam Ward, wherever he went, had success at a high level. And Cam Ward, they leaned on Cam Ward to have success on the offensive side. They had a very mediocre running game. I think it was, I'm blanking on the kid that's for the, I'm blanking on the kid that's the running back for the Chicago Bears right now. Cam Ward, I think, without question, is a better prospect. He can work out of structure, which Mendoza's 50-50 out of structure. Mendoza's 50-50 when he's moved off of his spot. They didn't just run RPOs over at Miami. Cam Ward did a very good job of creating plays on his own more often than not. But again, he also didn't have much to throw to at all. Look at all the weapons that got drafted to the NFL. They're not really doing anything in the NFL right now. And so he made that offense. Whereas you remove Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, you got Curtis Ward. So Cam Ward has so much more to that offense than Fernando Mendoza was to Indiana's offense. So I take Cam Ward all day, every day. John, I did get I did get the Instagram that you sent about Mad Max staying a Raider. I'll be real with you, man. You sent it to me and it was Mitchell Renz. Mitchell Renz, look, I respect what he does, but he is like Bleacher Report. He's like ESPN. He's a guy that doesn't understand the game of football. He's a baseball guy, but I respect what he does, right? He reports the news. He reports whatever happens, right? If we sign somebody, he reports it. He does a very good job of kind of connecting the dots with certain players and people that have connections together. He does a very good job. Shout to him. But when it comes to like evaluating the situation, evaluating players, that stuff like that, he's not good at all. And his history shows that. But he does a very good job of reporting the news, reporting what is going on, and definitely go to him and reference him for that. But I saw what you said, and look, you know, what he says when it comes to Maxx, it could be true. I'm not saying it's not. I take what he says with a grain of salt, to be honest with you. But shout out to him. What he does, you know, he brings the nation. It's good. I'm good.
I am heading out of here. Do you mind if I close your eyes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good. Thank you.
But what he does very well. But I look at him as like ESPN. Do you go to ESPN for your Raiders news and knowledge and education? No, nobody does anymore. But that's Mitchell Renz. But again, shout out to him, man. What he does extremely well, and he's dedicated, and man, he rocks with the nation. Bebop, when we finally jump on board the Mendoza, what are you not seeing? I'm going to break down his game film. I'll show you exactly what I see that's not good. But even if we draft him, doesn't mean that he is the guy. That's the thing that everybody has to realize. Just because you draft him doesn't mean he's the guy. I could have told you before I was on this YouTube team that Tyree Wilson is not the guy. But everybody might have been like, oh, well, see, we drafted him. He's the guy. But see how's Tyree worked out so far. So even if we draft him, doesn't mean he is the guy. You can say, I told you so, we drafted him, and I'd say, no, if I was a betting man, I would say we're going to draft him. But just because we draft him doesn't mean he is the guy. I will be on board with Mendoza. You know, once he proves that the question marks I have, he can work through it and he gets it done. And then you can come back and say, my question marks, they were answered. Mendoza answered them. That's really it. And that could take 3 years. That could take 3 seasons. You know, everybody questioned that I thought Bo Nix could be a good quarterback in the National Football League. And he's a good quarterback in the National Football League. Everybody questioned the fact that I said Shedeur Sanders was a third-round grade with my evaluation. But people came at me and said, no, we're picking him at number 6. No, we need to get him at number 6. No, he's a first-round quarterback. He went to the 5th round. So I was more right than everybody else that was trying to question me. So, you know, I thought Tyler Shough was my basically 2A, 2B last year. I had Cam Ward and I had Jackson Dart and Tyler Shough in that mix. Tyler Shough was a pretty good quarterback last year, but everybody wanted to look at that one throw that he had on the combine and said, you're crazy to think that Tyler Shough's going to be good. He ended up being pretty good. So, but even if Fernando Mendoza comes out and struggles, I'm still going to give him 3 seasons. I'm not going to come out here year one if he struggles and give you that I told you so. No, I'm going to say I'm going to be patient and I'm going to see if he can develop into a good quarterback. I understand the evaluation of what it takes for a quarterback. And so, you know, if we draft him, it doesn't mean he's the guy. It means we drafted him. We got to give it 3 seasons to figure out who he is. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
You as well. Let's see. All right. Do me a favor. Choose Feinstein. I think Mendoza's better than Ward. Okay. All right. Do me a favor. Let's see. Philly Mike, what's going on, man? You're saying Rams have traded receiver Davante Adams in a second for A.J. Brown in a 4th. Is that real? Is that real? If that's real, that's wild. They traded Davante Adams for a second for A.J. Brown in a 4th. That's crazy. That's crazy. That means they're going all in. They're going all in. I mean, they have to. They have to. Matthew Stafford's got 1 year at best left, so they're going after it. They're going after it. Quirk, what's going on, brother? You're saying as an Alabama fan, that's a rumor a lot, though. He was coming back to Bama. Are you saying that's a rumor a lot? The freshman starting? I'm not sure. I think you might be answering the question before. Trade with the Jets for picks. Or Anthony Zirkle. You're saying trade with the Jets for picks and then trade down from the Jets #2 spot and clean up on extra picks. Let's see. Let's see. Solo Empire, what's going on, man? How do we obtain legit cornerback right now? Because that's a major need. So, one thing I'll say to that is we're not going to satisfy every single need this upcoming season. And you don't have to, right? The expectation of this season isn't we're going to the Super Bowl. And so you want to be able to bring in guys that are serviceable, guys that can play the position at a good level, but you fill some bigger needs elsewhere. So, for example, we needed linebackers, right? We potentially need a right tackle. We need some interior defensive line, given the fact that we are changing up to a 3-4. You also need a potential free safety. So, that I think is a higher need, given the fact that we brought back Eric Stokes. I like the bringing back Eric Stokes because I think Eric Stokes is a serviceable replacement, a spot filler that could play at a decent level. But then you also have some youngsters. You got DC or Decan. You have Darian Porter. You got some young guys that we got to see what we have of those guys. And so I don't think we need to address the cornerback until maybe fourth round, I would say. We just brought back in the guy from the Bills. I think the kid from the Bills could be a really good slot corner and kind of fulfill that need. And so I think we have bigger needs than corner right now. Not saying it's not a need, but I think we have bigger needs right now at the corner position. So I just don't think we need to address it really early. But again, maybe fourth round, we start looking at it depending on who's dropping. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Anthony, you said Mendoza wouldn't be a #1 overall pick in the past drafts in history. I agree. Without question, he would not be a number in past history. I think what a lot of people get caught up in, to be honest with you, is as soon as he made that run in the national championship, that 15-yard run for a touchdown, I was like, damn it, it locked him up. The fan base is going to get all hopped up on that highlight reel. And when you get hopped up on highlight reels, because look, at the end of the day, Mendoza doesn't have a lot of highlight reels. He doesn't. You can look at the Penn State throw, really good throw. You can look at, what was the other throw that he had that was really good? There was another game winner. I'm blanking on, my bad. But you can, there were some good throws that he made that people constantly point back to those throws that he made. Penn State throw, you obviously have the run against him. And my fear is that you're going to get so hopped up on the highlights of him that you don't look at the body of work. And the body of work just does not say #1 overall. And again, it says he's a good quarterback. He's a good college quarterback, but he is nothing that is like, holy shit, he is going to be amazing in the NFL. It's just not there. If you look at the body of work. And we're going to break down the game film. I'm going to show you. I'm not just going to show 2 or 3 plays. I'm going to show you damn near 30, 35 plays to show you the good, the bad, the ugly, and you can make your own assessment. We'll definitely break down the game film when we go live. Let's see. What's going on, man? Omega, what's going on, man? What's the minimum expectation for Mendoza year 1? I have no expectation for Mendoza year 1. I think Mendoza comes in and has like a year that he throws 15 interceptions. I'm not going to discredit him for a bad performance year 1. Again, I understand how to evaluate quarterbacks. I've done it extremely well. Just because I've been on this YouTube thing since 2023, I want to say, don't think that my evaluation, my history of evaluating talent started in the 2023 season. It's well before that. I just told you guys, my evaluation of the quarterback position is actually pretty spot on in my history. And I got the history to prove it, and that's why I love kind of coming on here and documenting it. And so I have no expectation of Mendoza. I got to give him a 4 years, even though I thought Bo Nix would be a good quarterback. If he didn't get hurt, there's a good chance he's in the Super Bowl this year. And the second year is even harder for a quarterback. The second year is even harder for a quarterback because now teams have a full year of tape on you. You have your division rivals that have a full off season to be able to bring in free agents, to bring in draft, to expose your weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes the second year is even harder. That's why there's the sophomore slump, because now teams can prep for you and have all the game film to prep for you. And that's why Bo Nix this year was even more impressive for Bo Nix, because it was his second year of teams preparing for him and trying to expose his weaknesses even more and minimize his strengths. And so I don't have any expectations of Mendoza year one. I'm just going to let him rock. You know what I'm saying? And we'll see what he does by year 3. Let's see. Do me a favor, guys. Hit that hashtag Raiders, man. If you got something, I want to make sure I kind of get to as many as I can. Jeff, what's going on, brother? I appreciate you on the super chat out there. I'll put it up on stage. Don't believe anything Philly Mike says. He's trolling you guys. That trade with the Rams, Eagles is not true at all. Okay. All right. I appreciate the super chat, big dog. I appreciate you out there, Jeff. Let's see, Kane, what's going on, man? If the Raiders draft him, they looked at the body of work, they see him as a franchise quarterback. Who cares what we think? Maybe. You're right. I think you got to explain to me, though, and some teams make very big mistakes. Explain to me why a fourth pick is not much different than a first pick, if we all can agree, right? A top 5 pick, you're going after a guy that you think is franchise changing, right? And so, if we all can agree to that, if you pick someone in the top 5 pick, you think you're getting someone that's the best at that position for that draft class. That's what you're doing. I think we all can agree to that. And so, again, I want to make sure my daughter's good again. She's over with her friends movies. I want to jump on here, chop it up with you guys. I'll be live tonight, 6:30 Pacific time in the war room. Then please explain to me why the Colts thought Anthony Richardson was a good pick. Because there's no way you can look at Anthony Richardson's body of work and tell me he's going to be a good NFL quarterback. Anthony Richardson is a highlight reel. That's all he is. He's a highlight hero. I'm a Florida Gator fan. I watched every single game, every single throw of Anthony Richardson. And tell me how you thought the Indianapolis Colts thought he was going to be a good football player. Nothing about Anthony Richardson, the body of work that he had, told me that he was going to be a good quarterback. I even went to Vegas. I lived in Vegas at the time. I went and I put a bet. I'll put a $100 bet down that Anthony Richardson was not going to get drafted by the number 5 pick. And I lost that bet. I lost that bet because I thought GMs were smarter than that. I thought GMs had a better evaluation process than that. So can you tell me that Anthony Richardson was worth the number 4 overall pick? So I'm with you, yes. We might do a really good job and think that Fernando Mendoza and his body of work is worth a number 1 pick. It might happen, but it doesn't mean that they're right. Because can you tell me that Anthony Richardson's body of work was right? It wasn't. There's nothing you can point to with this body of work that tells me he's an NFL quarterback. He was a highlight reel, and they drafted him off of highlights and potential. And potential. That's the other thing, is a lot of GMs will draft off of potential. A lot of GMs will also kind of succumb to the pressure. There's a lot of pressure with that number 1 overall draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Or just the top 5 draft pick. There's a lot of pressure given the fact that you have a $1 billion franchise on your shoulders, and you kind of get pressured into basically fearing that if you go somewhere else and thrives, that you'll never get a GM job again. So sometimes GMs will drop that pressure, to be honest with you. I'm just throwing that out there. Do me a favor, hit that hashtag Raiders. You guys got a question. What up, you ready, Mike? What's going on, man? I just want to get caught up a little bit, so I'll see everybody. Thanks, Joe. What's going on, man? I see you. I see the question. Let's see. Let's see. Bebop time will tell. We will have the rest of the receipts. I didn't think Sanders would be great either. Trust me. Clock my receipts, bro. Record my receipts. I really don't care, to be honest with you, because at the end of the day, so far my receipts are goddamn good. And a lot of people questioned me. A lot of people came on, like a lot of people do right now, and saying, I can't wait for you to be wrong. Cool, you said that about Bo Nix, you said about Mason Graham. People questioned my evaluation of Mason Graham last year, and I had question marks on Mason Graham. And Mason Graham, for the first half of the season, looked like a goddamn bust. In the second half of the season, he looked a little bit better. He definitely improved, but he did not perform like a number 5 overall pick or number 6 if we would have drafted him. And guess what? He was in the best situation possible. He went to the Cleveland Browns defense that had nothing but dogs on that front line. You had a Myles Garrett that was getting double and triple teamed all season long. So if Mason Graham was as good as everybody thought he was going to be, he should have had more production. He didn't register a single sack last year. Not a single sack in 17 games. You tell me if that's worth a number 5 overall pick or number 6 if we would have drafted him. He didn't even make the All-Pro rookie team. He made the second team, and he was a very weak interior defensive line last year. He was extremely weak, and he couldn't even make the first team All-Pro rookie team. He couldn't. So tell me that all the people that said I was crazy to think Mason Graham wasn't worth a number 6 overall pick. Tell me how crazy I look now, given the fact that he didn't even make the All-Pro rookie team. And the first half of the season, people are talking about him as being a bust. So you can keep my receipts all day long. I hope you do, because we'll come back and talk about it. For Nick's team's pretty good. He's not carrying anything for Denver. Sounds like Mendoza. No. Don't do that. Because I'll tell you right now, they had a good defense. Every quarterback needs support system. Every quarterback does. And so, but just think about it. Bo Nix had top 10 numbers in every statistical category you want your quarterback to be in. And he had the second most drops in the National Football League. That receiver room had the second most drops in the National Football League. And he had a mediocre receiver room at best. Cortland Sutton, the bottom tier number 1 receiver. He had basically nothing but number 3s outside of that. Had a okay running game. The running game was decent. He had a really good offensive line. I'll give him that. Tight end room, Elvin Ingram. They brought him in. He was hurt a good portion of the season. He was okay at best. Bo Nix had not much to do. He didn't have much to work with. Had a good defense. I'll give him that. I'm not taking anything away. But Bo Nix was that offense. Bo Nix carried that offense. The amount of times that he had to get first downs with his legs. The amount of times that his receivers dropped passes on 3rd and 7. You know what I'm saying? On 2nd and 10. Now it's a 3rd and 10, and he actually gets it. Go back and watch the game film. Go back and look at what the makeup of that team was. He had a mediocre receiver room at best, with the second most drops in the National Football League. And go look at what he had to deal with in the playoffs. His bottom tier receivers got hurt. Jaden Higgins. Pat Bryant. Pat Bryant, their rookie that they brought in to help him, got hurt. Concussion, I believe it was, in the playoffs. Troy Franklin, his other receiver, got hurt in the playoffs. Didn't have him. He had Cortland Sutton. That was about it. He had one receiver to throw to, and Cortland Sutton is a bottom tier with number 1 receiver. If he didn't get hurt, there's a damn good chance he's in the Super Bowl. So again, every quarterback needs help around them, needs a support system. But Bo Nix was the reason why that offense did anything. And so, and a lot of people, I saw a comment earlier, or in my last live, that Bo Nix did a high RPO system. Yeah, he did. But look at what he did outside of that RPO system. Look at the way he worked out the structures. Look at the way he created plays. Look at the way that he moved outside the pocket. And look at his ball placement and accuracy outside the pocket. And again, in Oregon, didn't have a lot of weapons to throw to. He had Troy Franklin, which is a 6 foot receiver, somebody that's not necessarily a prototypical 50-50 ball guy. That's why I had him over. Michael Penix. You know, Michael Penix kind of had a safety blanket of Roma Doomsday with that 50-50 ball. And he didn't work the middle very well. Bo Nix worked the middle extremely well. Bo Nix worked out of structure extremely well and continued to throw balls at a high accuracy rate as well as a very good ball placement. Or had very good ball placement. And so that's why I thought Bo Nix would be a good quarterback. That's why I wanted him for us that year. And so, trust me, I go back and do my research. But again, I'm not saying that Bo Nix didn't have help. He did. What up, John Leon? What's going on, man? And John Fallon, I see you saying he had a top 3 defense. He had a good defense. But just because he has a good defense doesn't mean you make a Super Bowl just because, or you make it to the third round just because of the defense. Because the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are one of the best defenses in the National Football League. Where'd they go? How'd they do? So you need more than just a good defense. A good defense isn't going to carry you to a Super Bowl. What up, Alec? What's going on, man? Anthony, you're saying, yeah, Anthony Richardson was of potential in his combine workouts. Yes. And look, that's what might happen. I'm not saying that we're not going to drop Mendoza. That might happen. We might drop Mendoza just pure off of potential. That might be it. I just don't know how Spytek and Kubiak evaluate quarterbacks. I have no clue. I know how I evaluate quarterbacks, and go pull my receipts and go look at my history, and my shit's been real since I started this thing. And again, don't think my evaluation just started when I started YouTube in 2023. It's far beyond that. And again, I'm not saying you need to believe me, but one of my sleepers in the draft before Maxx Crosby was my sleeper that year. What up, Chewy? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you running with me. And I'm gonna say it too. We did some mock drafts last year. We only did a few mock drafts. But my number one slot corner in last year's draft was Jacob Parrish, and he was the best slot corner of last year's rookie class. And my second best was the second best slot corner, an Upton Stout, which was drafted by the 49ers. So in my evaluation, I had the number one and number two slot corners on my board, highly rated, which I would have taken in the third round, possibly fourth round. Jacob Parrish, Upton Stout were my top two. Those guys are the best slot corners in last year's rookie draft class. And my top two guys, man, I wanted T-Mac. I wanted Teddy McMillan so bad. Or if we wanted to bolster that offensive line, I wanted Kelvin Banks. And they were the best ones. They were the best ones out of that draft class. Kane, what's going on, man? You're saying, I agree with the last 6 years. Who has been the most upside with athleticism? Okay, I see what you're saying. I think smarts and accuracy are more concrete attributes to evaluate and build on for a quarterback. Breeze, Manning, Burrow. There's a lot of, trust me, and like I'm saying, like as much as I want to trade back, man, I think Mendoza has a lot of good attributes. Don't get me wrong. Hey guys, I'm gonna be on here for about another 5 minutes, man. Again, I came on here to jump on with you. My daughter wanted to go take a friend. They're starting spring break. Want to take a friend to the movies. We're watching the movie. I want to jump over here, chop it up with y'all. I don't have many opportunities to go one-on-one and talk with you guys, man. So salute to everybody in the building. Double tap that screen, hit that like button. If you guys want to hit that sub button, I appreciate it. I'm going to go live tonight at 6:30 in the War Room with Chris and Severe, man. So definitely tap in with that as well. What up, Lake Show? I'm saying, have you heard if we still have any interest in trading for receiver Brian Thomas? I don't know if the Jags are willing to do it at this point. I'll be real. I would not mind trading for Brian Thomas Jr. if they were willing to take a third, which I don't think they will. Due to the DJ Moore trade, DJ Moore, they traded him for a second, and DJ Moore is older. He has a much higher salary cap hit. Brian Thomas Jr. is still in his rookie contract. He can have 2 more years with a 5th-year option on a rookie contract with a much lower cap. I think you'd have to give up at least a second, at least. And I just don't know if I'd give up the second because you can go and get like a Denzel Boston possibly in a second. Again, the kid from Georgia State, I really like him. You can get him probably in the 3rd, maybe the 4th. He drops a little bit. But I would not be opposed to Brian Thomas Jr. If you give up a 3rd, if they wanted to go bold and give up a second, I wouldn't be extremely mad at it because I think the value's there. If you can get anything out of Brian Thomas Jr., what he showed in his first year, his rookie year, bro, you got yourself a number 1 receiver. You got yourself a ball on a rookie contract for the next 2 years, and you've got a 5th-year option. Bro, that would be a solid-ass move, to be honest with you. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. Now, I don't know if the Jags are keeping him on the trading block, but I would like to give up a 3rd if they give up a second, I wouldn't be mad at it, but you better hope you get what you saw his rookie year. I did hear reports that, Trevor Lawrence threw him some hospital balls. His rookie year was kind of like hurt him a little bit, so he has a little bit of fear going work in the middle of the field. That's not good. As a number one receiver, you want him to be a full route tree guy. You want him to be able to work the entire portion of the field in between the white lines, and so you got to make sure that's not a problem. But wouldn't be mad at him. Shout out to everybody, man. A couple more minutes, I'm gonna get up out of here, man. Shout out to everybody. Got to get over. I think my daughter's friend. The movie ends in about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna rock up on over there. Pigs. Dobbins was playing at a Pro Bowl level until Tyree dropped tackle. The run game did fall off. John, at 8:05, does Ladarius Sneed fit our system now that he's a free agent? Look, I think Ladarius Sneed at this point, you might end up taking a swing at him maybe after the draft if certain guys don't drop your way. But I got to look at what, honestly, man, I wouldn't mind bringing him in. If you can get him at a team-friendly contract, I think that's where it sucks with the Maxx Crosby situation and not having that additional salary cap space. You'd have to bring him in at a cheap contract. If you bring him in with competition, bro, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Ladarius Sneed could be a veteran to come in, help out this young quarterback room, develop. You got Eric Stokes in there. You can have a very seasoned cornerback room out of nowhere. So if you can get him at a team-friendly deal, I wouldn't mind it, to be honest with you. I think he brings value. I think he brings the ability to kind of teach some of these young guys. If someone gets hurt, man, you got yourself a guy that can come in and do some work. But I do think he fits the system because I think, in my opinion, because Robbie Leonard comes from that Brian Flores system a little bit. He coached with Brian Flores. I think Robbie Leonard might play a very heavy zone style system. Cover two is kind of what a lot of defenses like to run nowadays. You can run cover two in so many different ways that makes it very, very tricky for the quarterback to understand what the defense does. It forces defenses to work the checkdowns. It forces defenses to have to work their timing routes. And I think that's what Robbie Leonard wants to do. When you bring in Eric Stokes, and if you can rock with guys like DCam as well as Darian Porter, they're taller, lengthy guys that aren't necessarily good one-on-one, man-to-man coverage guys. I think we're going to run a heavy cover two system. But I like it, though, because cover two, man, you can be very creative and work the coverage between the safeties and linebackers to decide coverages, run a lot of inverts where safeties jump a lot of short routes. I think you're very creative with it, and I think Ladarius Sneed can work well in that system. So, correct, Nick's is the Auburn guy. I'm never giving him credit. I feel you. A lot of people, man, give him so much shit for moving from Auburn to Oregon, and man, he's a young kid. That's where a lot of people are like, oh, he's not going to handle the Raider Nation. He's not going to handle, what we're going to bring to the table. That was bullshit. That was mainstream media. That was bigger content creators feeding you guys the bullshit and blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I'm talking about his game film. I'm talking about the body of work. I'm talking about what he brings to the table. That's why I knew there was a good chance he was going to be a good quarterback in the National Football League. Not all that bullshit that everybody else gave you. What up, Marcus Banks? I see you. What's happening, brother? Polar Bear Raider, what's happening, man? What do you think about us getting Aaron Rodgers? Because if we can get Mendoza to be a young Aaron Rodgers, that would be a blessing. I do not see Mendoza turning into a young Aaron Rodgers, but I just don't know if Aaron Rodgers is the right guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do think we need to bring a veteran. I do think we need to bring a veteran quarterback that can help a young quarterback. Man, I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I have thought about Aaron Rodgers, but I just don't know if Aaron Rodgers would come here, to be honest. I just don't think this would be the spot for him. I don't think that he'd be willing to groom a young quarterback, in my opinion. And man, he's up there in age. Like, man, it would be tough. It would be tough. Let's do this. I wouldn't be mad at it. I would just be very concerned that if we did draft a young quarterback, would Aaron Rodgers be willing to just kind of help him? Or would Aaron Rodgers be just fully about, I need to win something now? And when you do that with a veteran quarterback, it gets you in trouble. You know, Aaron Rodgers is going to come into a really rough situation where you don't have the best roster, and he's going to force throws, he's going to try too much, and that's when you cause turnovers. And then this season can look so much worse than it can be. And again, I don't expect a lot this upcoming year, but you need a veteran quarterback that's willing to teach the next guy. And if Mendoza ends up replacing him week 10, week 11, week 12, you need a backup quarterback that's willing to sit on the sideline and continue to teach Mendoza. Is Aaron Rodgers just going to be bitter that he's sitting? Is he going to be a bitter veteran that's like, I should be starting? Screw this young rookie. He shouldn't be starting. And now when Mendoza comes to the sideline in the middle of the game and you need that backup quarterback, that veteran quarterback, to be able to help you understand what the defense is trying to do, the adjustments that they're making, Aaron Rodgers might be in his bitter place to go off the other end of the bench and be like, screw you, I'm not helping you. That's not what we need. And I just don't know if that's what Aaron Rodgers would do. So that's why I don't know if I'd be on Aaron Rodgers, because I don't think he'd play the role that we need him to play. Let me know if you agree or disagree. So, all right, hey, I'm at the end of it. Guys, my kid's movie's going to end, man. I appreciate everybody rocking. Again, I'll get very many opportunities to come on here, chop it up with y'all, answer any questions. I hope you guys just, look, you may not agree with me, and I get it. I understand. I'm not saying I'm always right. I'm saying you can check my receipts, you can check my history, and 90% of the time, I'm right. But I'm not saying I'm always right. And I'm also saying that there's so many things that can determine the success of a quarterback or any player in the National Football League. So, for example, like, you know, I could have told you Bo Nix could be a good quarterback, and Bo Nix could have been drafted by the Cleveland Browns, and he looked like absolute shit. I can look like I'm wrong. You know, you can look at so many scenarios where a young rookie is drafted, and they had a lot of potential, but they just go to an organization that just is not good, and they don't give the coaching, they don't provide the coaching, the resources for a player to look good, and next thing you know, my evaluation looks like shit. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a lot of things that come into play for rookies to find success, and so that's why I'm not saying Mendoza won't be good. I'm not saying Mendoza's not a good prospect. He's a good prospect, but he's a good prospect at number one. But would I take him at number one based on what I see, my evaluation, or would I take a Ty Simpson if we go quarterback first round? Would I take a Ty Simpson plus 2 additional first rounders? No, that's what I would do. But just know we're going to break down his game film. We're going to break his game film down. We're going to break down Ty Simpson's game film down. And sometimes you do draft on potential, but sometimes quarterbacks go into situations. I mean, imagine if you think Fernando Mendoza gets, if we pass on Fernando Mendoza, we trade with the Jets, and Fernando Mendoza ends up with the Jets, do you think Fernando Mendoza is going to find success with the Jets organization? Probably not. What if the Cleveland Browns trade up with us with the number one and they take Fernando Mendoza? Do you think Fernando Mendoza is going to find success with the Cleveland Browns? Probably not. But at the same time, it sucks. Actually, I'll give you a really good example. As much as I had Shedeur Sanders as a third-round grade, I thought Shedeur Sanders had some good talent, but not in the first round. I had a third-round grade on him. I think it sucks because I just don't think the Cleveland Browns are going to give him what he needs to find success. Unfortunately, and that's where it really hurts my ability to understand and evaluate, was my evaluation right of him? Because I think the Cleveland Browns are just not going to set him up for success. And that's where it sucks. Cam, you're saying Jets are going to tank if they're starting Geno? Yeah, and I think that's the goal, to have another high draft pick next year, because I think reports are coming out that a lot of teams are gearing up for next year's draft class, because they're saying that next year's draft class could have 10 to 15 players better than the best prospect in this draft class. That's what I'm hearing. I'm not saying it's right. I don't follow college football a lot. But that's just what I'm hearing. So, guys, man, hey, I'm gonna get up out of here. I appreciate y'all, man. I appreciate everybody rocking with me again. I can't come on here too often to chop it up one-on-one, but I appreciate all y'all rocking with me. Do me a big favor. I gotta get over to my daughter, her and her friend. They're about to get out of their movie. I want to make sure I'm there when they get out, so they're good. I'm just a couple doors down, chopping up with y'all. So do me a favor. Double tap that screen, hit that like button. I'm going to be live tonight, 6:30% of the time, with my guys in the Raider War Room. Tap it with us. I'm going to get all their takes as well. Chop it over. Hey, I appreciate all the questions. I appreciate all the super chats, all the members, the subscribers, everybody. Tap it with me tonight, 6:30. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to get out of here. Have a great rest of your next hour and a half. Check in with me. Appreciate y'all. I'm out of here. Peace.